Welcome back to Coffee and Conversation. So for all you Audie fans, my bad boy is asleep in the middle of the bed. Now, yesterday, I had wanted to change the bed. Audie decided he wanted to help, and he was bouncing all over the bed, trying to take everything I was picking up. And eventually he fell asleep in the middle of the bed. So no, I did not change the bed yesterday because I did not want to move the sleeping cat. So I decided I would start again today. I got as far as getting all the pillowcases off the pillows. Pillows are off the bed. Audie is still sleeping in the middle of this giant unmade mess of a bed. But I will get it changed because I'm going to wait until he wants to go out later this afternoon, and he will. He's got his certain times he likes to go out. He will go out, he will sleep on the porch, I will change the bed, and then I'll let him back in. So, yes, I'm surprised I didn't think of that in the first place, but yeah, it's an adventure living with this cat. Okay, before we get into the video, I'll keep all of this ahead of the intro. I did want to show you another sweater that I got recently, and that's this one. Now, this one is, I think, a very attractive sweater. I got this online. I paid $135 for it, which means it's definitely on the high end of what I am willing to pay for a sweater. But it was all wool. It is, in fact, quite warm. The downside is I've only had this a relatively short period of time, and it is full of pulls and pills. And when a sweater ends up getting full of pills, the first thing I start to wonder is, what is the quality of the wool that's being used? Because a high-quality wool sweater will not pill as quickly or easily as a low-quality sweater. Low quality, even though it's about 50% more expensive than what I usually pay for sweaters. And because I'm giving this company a very bad trashing today, I'm not going to tell you what company it is. It's attractive. This was not an internet issue, because if I had seen this in the store, if I had picked it up, held it, felt the weight, the wool, had a chance to look at it up close, that nice, stitching, and I would have said, yeah. The quality issue is something that doesn't come up until after you've worn it a few times. You wear it a few times and you see that it's just not holding up. So, unfortunately, this was not an isolated purchase. I got two sweaters. I got another one in black. I'll show you a picture of that. And same thing. Same company, same thing. These are the only two sweaters I've ever gotten from that company. They were probably the two most expensive sweaters, or close to it, in my closet. Not a good buy at all. However, because they are both wool, they are both warm. This one comes down to my knees. I can use them. In particular, this one, I've kind of turned it into a bathrobe. I get up, I get dressed. I don't go reaching for my bathrobe. I go reaching for a sweater. But yeah, this is the one I'm reaching for now when I'm around the house. Why? Because I am determined to get my money's worth out of it. And I figure if I wear this sweater 20 days a month, when I'm in the house, if that's when it sees its use, after about 6 months, I will feel I've gotten my money's worth out of it, and I'll be ready to donate it in the fall. Same thing with the black one, but that is what's going to happen. I'll save them for fall donations because, the weather gets cold. That's when people are going to be looking for heavyweight sweaters. I'll hand it on to somebody else. They will get a warm and serviceable sweater that is full of pills and pulls. But hey, they may not mind. They may not be as picky as I am. Will I go back to this company again? Not on your life. Will not happen. I have a couple of other companies that I do business with, and these are all companies in Ireland, by the way. And I get good quality at good prices from them. Do I need to go to this company? I do not. So this one and its friend, the black sweater, were my, gee, do I ever regret purchasing them for, the last winter season. But I did want to show you this because I show you the things that I got that really turned out to be good deals. So I figure, here, let's take a look at some of the things I got that turned out to be terrible deals. And in fact, in the last 6 or 8 months, I've gotten 3 sweaters that just did not turn out to be good deals. But I will share with you the companies from which I got good deals, and Sketlew is one of them. Oh, by the way, let me throw this in very quickly. An Irish viewer had said that this is the name of an island cluster off the coast of Ireland. So, yeah, it probably did start off as an Old Norse name because it was, in fact, the Norse that named much of the islands around the UK. So, yeah, there probably is a connection there. But also, it's good to know that that company did not intentionally name itself the Scary Sweater Company. The name had a different meaning for them, so yay. That's a company from which I've gotten good products at good prices. Another one is the Irish store. And very easy to remember, the Irish store. And I get good sweaters from them at good prices. So I can give you a couple of resources that have worked for me. And the others, well, we're just going to leave that off the table. All right, we're going to break for the intro, and then we will come right back. So yesterday's video got some great comments. All the comments are great all the time, but I got some useful comments in terms of tips I can pass on to the rest of you. And I got some interesting questions, interesting topics that were raised that I had not really considered and have not discussed when I've talked about decluttering. So I'm not going to read you the comments. They're in the video yesterday. If you're curious, go through them. They're all worth reading. But I am going to hit the high points. So Pamela Garza, I think it's 5046. She raised 2 very interesting issues. She is a woman in her early 60s, and she is not only coping with her own decluttering, she's coping with helping her parents declutter. And that's something that I think we're all aware of, but I haven't addressed it. And that is that we, of the baby boomer generation, boy, we got caught coming and going, didn't we? Now, we are, in fact, probably the most privileged generation the world has yet seen. We walked into a world as young adults when you could walk out of high school at 18, get a job, the kind of job you could get with nothing more than a high school diploma, and we could support a family on it. That's great. That's something the kids today cannot do. I know plenty of people, high school graduates, got out of school, got right into the workforce, never really attained what one would consider to be high professional status, but still, they managed to have families, buy houses. This was available to us. You did not need to have a law degree or a medical degree to do that in our day. You do now. So on one hand, we were very, very privileged, but on the other hand, because of a lot of demographic factors, increased life expectancy, increased number of women in the workforce, and so on, we kind of got caught in a squeeze between raising our children, getting our children out on their own, and no sooner did we do that than it became necessary to start caring for our aged parents. So we are, in very many ways, the caregiver generation. Now, our parents were never really stuck with, I shouldn't say that, I don't mean that in a negative way. Our parents were never really left with the responsibility of taking care of their parents, at least not in the same numbers. And the reasons for that is increased life expectancy. Our parents were not expecting that their parents would live to be 80, 90, older. No. The life expectancy when I was born in 1954, so feel free to look it up. It was just under 70 years old. It was like 68 point something. Today, it's a full 10 years higher. So we're looking at life expectancies in the early 80s now. Nevertheless, my parents' generation, having their parents with the expectation that they would live into their 70s was a huge jump, because their parents' generation, average life expectancy was 47. So, yeah. And it is an issue. And when Pamela raised that, it was like, yes, that's a factor. No sooner do we get our kids out on their own when we're dealing with our parents, and we are caught in the middle, because we start decluttering, downsizing, streamlining our environments for ourselves, but we also have to do it for our parents. And then when, we're taking a break from doing it for our parents, we're going to the homes of our adult children and helping them do it, because they never had the benefits that we had of things like home economics courses in school, previous generations sharing their wisdom. Remember, ours is the generation in which women were moving into the workforce in significant numbers, close to the same numbers as men today, by the way. So, yeah, they were not given the same resources we had as we were growing up. So it's up to us to pass these skills on to them. And I think that Pamela raised a very, very good point, because we are not just cleaning, decluttering, downsizing for ourselves. We're helping our kids get ready to move into their first homes. We're helping our parents as they are transitioning out of the big houses in which we were raised and moving into condominiums or assisted living, senior housing, whatever. So yes, we are the generation that is very largely saddled with downsizing for everyone. And I think that's a point that should have been addressed, and my bad for failing to address it, because it is there, and it is a factor for us, and for some of us, it is a factor that is weighing very heavily on us, not just what we have to do, to borrow from the whole Swedish death cleaning mentality, not just what we have to do to keep our children from inheriting a mess they don't want, but what we have to do to prepare our children for moving into a new home, to prepare our parents for moving out of their home and into smaller environments. And it is a lot of responsibility. It is a lot of pressure. And I think this is something we should probably discuss in greater detail at a future date. But gosh, Pamela, thanks for bringing it up, because I think this is something a lot of us are dealing with. And I like being able to open the door for that discussion. So, comment section, discuss away. Now, let me give you Pamela's tip, because she did come up with this incredible little tip for downsizing. And now this, in particular, this applies to clothing, but I can see the possibilities of expanding this into all kinds of other areas. She looks at her clothing and says to herself, if I charged my husband with packing a bag for me to go on a trip, and I found this item in the bag, would I say, heavens no, that's an item that has to go? So what she's looking for is, if it's in her wardrobe, if it's in her closet, in her dresser, it needs to be something that she would like in her going away for a weekend or a week bag. I think that is very clever. Absolutely, if it's not something you would pack on a trip, then absolutely, because what that's telling you is you don't like it enough to wear on vacation. You don't like it enough to wear on a business trip. So why is it there? And I think that's a lovely way to look at it. However, I will throw a caveat. Don't get too carried away with the vacation mentality, because we shouldn't be throwing away all of our winter coats and fall sweaters simply because when we think vacation, we think a sunny beach in the Caribbean. No, we need some common sense here. But I think it is a brilliant strategy. It's another way of looking at it, another perspective to bring to the party. And this is a really, really good one because it's fun. It's absolutely fun. And anything that makes the job of downsizing and decluttering easier, more fun, more engaging, I'm all for it. So thank you, Pamela. This is great. Now, let's move on to Michigan, 1291. By the way, for our British friends, I hear British people on YouTube all the time talking about various American states. Michigan is not Michigan, even though it's M-I-C-H. It's Michigan. Just change that C to an S in your head and you will be fine, because that is one of the most common mistakes I hear from British people. And I don't blame them. It looks like it should be pronounced Michigan, but it's not. It's Michigan. So, Michigan 1291. She let me know that she went to Sketya, the company that I got the sweaters from that I spoke about yesterday, and she ordered a sweater. So she got a clearance sweater. Now, my sweaters were on clearance too. So, yes, congratulations, Michigan. But I'm sure she's going to love it. But before she hit the buy button, and she specified this, before she hit the buy button, she throws the sweater in her little shopping cart and then went back into her bedroom and grabbed 3 sweaters out of her closet and popped them in a donation bag. Goes back and pushed that button, and now that sweater is coming to her. And she says even if she doesn't like it, but I know she will, even if she doesn't like it, those 3 sweaters stay in the donation bag. And she described the process as surprisingly painless. That is another great trick. Buying something new, don't hit the buy button until you get rid of something that's already there. And so, thank you, Michigan. I think that's a great tip. Also, she gave another example of one of the things that she does, and this is another good one. When she is decluttering and cleaning and organizing, she takes everything that she's saving, all the things that are staying behind, and she numbers them from 1 to 10. How much do I like this? And at the end of the process, the 1s, 2s, 3s, out of here, because she doesn't like them enough to go through the bother of keeping them, giving them storage space, dusting them every week. I think that is a lovely way to do it because, first of all, she's giving herself a great deal of room for the stuff she's keeping. Remember, it's a 1 to 10 scale she's using, and the only things that are going are the bottom 30%, so 70% is staying behind with her, and that does make it remarkably painless. So, yes, Michigan is clearly working on how to do this with as little pain and distress as possible. And I think she's come up with a couple of really, really clever ideas. So, let's take a look at who is up. Bonnie Weeks. Bonnie Weeks was talking about the melon baller. Remember I mentioned that, those little things we have in our drawers that we never use? She also mentioned what she referred to as an egg cutting thingy. I'm pretty sure I know what that is. So this sparked a thought that I had, basically. I came back with the thought that one of the issues I had in my drawers was funnels. Funnels can be just massive things. They're not flat. You can't stick them in a drawer. You have to give them designated cabinet space. And it's like they're huge. Well, some of them are huge. Some of them are small, but it doesn't matter. Even the small ones don't fit in drawers conveniently. And then it occurred to me when I was struggling with funnels one day, I have measuring cups. I have a lot of measuring cups. And measuring cups, very conveniently, have that cute little pour spout. So why am I keeping funnels when I have measuring cups that will not only do the same job that the funnels do, but I already have designated storage space for them in my cabinets because we all have to keep at least one measuring cup. I've already got the storage space allocated for them. And they are not just useful for pouring things into small containers, although they are very useful for that. Also, you use them for cooking, for measuring, pouring. I use my measuring cups for all kinds of things because many times if I want something, I want to break open 3 eggs, I'll break them open into a measuring cup if that's what's sitting on the counter next to me. Why? Because a cup is a cup is a cup. So on top of everything else, you could actually drink your coffee out of a measuring cup. They are far more useful and versatile than a funnel that has one job and takes up a huge amount of space. So I wanted to pass that on to you. When you are looking at items that you're having trouble storing, think about the other items that might serve the same function. Because a lot of the things we have in our cabinets have one designated purpose, but they could easily be adapted to many more. The measuring cup, of course, is my favorite. In fact, I have a giant measuring cup with a spout and a handle that I use to actually mix, like if I'm making a cake, which I haven't done in a long time, I will mix it in that giant measuring cup / cooking bowl. So I would say, yes, look around for those things. And if you can find something else that you're already using on a regular basis that will do the same job, well, it's one more useless little gadget that you can eliminate from your kitchen. And then we got a comment from Dutch Joan. And Dutch Joan is a frequent commenter. I love her take on things. She has a way of just cutting to the chase. If there's something out there, a complicated issue, she'll just right to the heart of it. So, thank you, Joan. I do love your comments, and I look forward to them every weekend. So, Joan was saying that what she wanted to do was clean her kitchen and ended up cleaning out her china cabinet instead. And I thought, oh, kudos to you, because that's great. She was very pleased with the results of cleaning the china cabinet, and keeping our morale high when we are cleaning and decluttering and reorganizing is very important. That's why I love these fun tricks. So, yes, let's elaborate on Joan's trick. You want to clean the kitchen? Well, you have to clean the kitchen, because that's basically it. You have to clean the kitchen, but you want to clean the china cabinet? Clean the china cabinet. Because the high you get from looking at that sparkly clean china cabinet with every little item all in its place is going to motivate you to go in and, grab that scrub brush and clean out that dirty corner in the kitchen floor or whatever else it is that has been demanding your attention, but it's just not fun. So absolutely, if you have a big job you're not interested in and a smaller job that isn't necessary but would give you a lot of pleasure, do the small job, because it will help motivate you to get on to the big job. Next up, Barbara Hanratty 4174. She asked a question that I've had a lot of experience with. Papers. What do you do with paper stuff? So, we're probably going to go over time because I know we're approaching the end of our allotted 30 minutes, but this is a big topic and I'm not going to just skim it and walk away. A lot of us have problems with papers. I absolutely do have a great deal of difficulty with papers. Doesn't mean I don't know the systems to use to keep a handle on this. It just means I'm not following my own systems. So, bad me. But here's the thing. I was taught many, many years ago that when you get a piece of paper, something comes in the mail, whatever, a piece of paper ends up in your hands. You have three options. You respond to it, you file it, or you throw it away. That's it. So, it's an electric bill. You respond to it. You pay the bill. It's, for example, a bank statement. You don't have to respond to it, but you do need to keep it. So you put it into your little bank statement shoebox or wherever you are keeping these papers. And it's a circular from a home improvement company trying to sell you a new add-on bathroom. You throw it away. And if you do this diligently every time paper comes to you, you will be able to stay on top of it. The paper will be dealt with. Problem is when you have a lot of papers and you have not been diligent about staying on top of it, then you have other issues. Now, I have a lot of papers, and usually what I do is I will stack them up in piles and say, okay, I really can't read that. I'm going to get out a magnifier. I'm going to take a snapshot of it and blow it up, read it later. The truth of the matter is that hardly ever happens. And then in the end, I have this giant stack of papers. And what I do periodically with my giant stack of papers is I come in with trash bags and throw them away. And that's it. I just get rid of the papers, because I figure if it's been sitting there for 6 months and I haven't read it, nothing bad has happened, I guess that means I don't really need to read it. Now, I will grant you that there may be important things that I am throwing away, but anything that comes to me in the mail, if I need it at a future date, I can always get the person who sent it to me to send me another copy. And that's just basically my philosophy on it. I do have a paper shredder, and when I'm feeling ambitious, I will go through the papers and I will shred it. And ordinarily, I'll spend a day or two just dedicating myself to the shredding of papers. And heavens, it's a grueling ordeal because I get so much junk in the mail and I don't want it. Oh, and I should tell you, if you are overwhelmed by junk mail, you can ask your mail carrier to just leave it behind. They will do it. My mail carrier leaves most of the junk mail behind. They have a system for doing that within the United States Postal Service, so this is for Americans, you can tell them, I don't want the junk, and they will dispose of it responsibly, because the circulars that go to your house that you don't want, the flyers from the home improvement companies, whatever, the post office is taking this in huge quantities, so they've got it. And they are just as happy not to have to sort it into the box for your mail carrier, and they do have mechanisms for disposing of it responsibly. If you don't have a mail carrier, or if you don't have contact with your mail carrier, you could just go to the post office and tell them you don't want the junk mail, and they will deal with it for you. Not everything, of course, but most of the unwanted junk. And frankly, I think most of us would be better off doing this, because the volume of paper that is being wasted on things like, well, like I say, home improvement circulars that are being mailed out en masse to everyone. Gosh, that is criminal. And, I'm thinking to myself, how many poor little squirrels lost their trees to make this happen? No, thank you. So, in terms of overall papers, yes, if it's coming in, deal with it, save it, throw it away. Just that simple. And by the way, it becomes second nature after a while. However, having said that, I am going to throw this out. I know most of us are not sitting in our houses waiting for the mail to come. We are grabbing the mail on our way in from work. It's like you come home from work, you stop at the mailbox, you grab the mail, you're tired, you throw it on the table, it's like you go, you change, you get something to eat. The last thing you want to do is deal with the mail, and that's how these piles start. I get it. Totally get it. But the fact is that staying on top of it is probably the easiest way to deal with it. But Barbara was also talking about papers of sentimental value. If you have a birthday card from your grandmother who passed on years ago, if you want to keep that, keep it. Don't let anybody tell you you have to throw it away. I would, however, suggest that just for the sake of organization, get yourself a box. Anything. An old Amazon delivery box. You can get an attractive shoe box, because you know my theory, it's not hoarding if you keep it in a pretty box. Pop it into a nice shoe box. I have a system of important papers that I use. I started off doing this. In fact, most of my papers are still stored this way, in free envelopes from the post office. These are large padded envelopes, and they're plastic coated, and they've got the bubble wrap interiors. I started using them. I had a few, started popping papers in them, lined them up, and of course all the envelopes are the same, so it stacks up beautifully, and then just threw them into a larger decorative box. They're all there now. And it's worked. I have been able to keep my important papers, deeds, birth certificates, the sort of thing that not only do you not want to just leave lying around for anybody to pick up, you certainly don't want to throw them in the trash. If you were to dispose of it, you would want to shred it. But it's things that would be a lot of trouble to recover if you had to. If you have a scanner, and by the way, scanners are cheap. If you have a computer, you can buy a scanner from Walmart for about $25. You can scan the documents and then keep them on your computer. However, I'm going to throw this caveat out. I lose computer files periodically because I use my computer a lot. So, who knows? It could crash. If it does, I could end up losing anything stored on that computer. But that box is still there. So I'm not going to tell you that storing your hard copy papers on a computer is a better, more secure option, because I don't believe it is. I have lost so many copies of that paperwork simply because a computer crashed and I couldn't recover the contents of the drive. Oh, I do have backup drives, by the way, and I do keep copies on backup drives now, and I've done that for several years, but that's only because I suffered so many losses before then. Nevertheless, anything that's in that box, it's been there for maybe 20 years, and it's still well organized. It's still in a pretty box. I still know where it all is. So I'm not going to tell you to go over to electronic storage, because quite frankly, electronic storage has just as many problems as hard copy storage. What I would say is, if you are keeping valuable, important documents, birth certificates, passports, anything like this, do try to scan it. If you don't want to go out and buy your own scanner, find a friend with a scanner, or go to Staples and they'll scan your documents for pocket change. And back it up, because if you have an electronic copy and a hard copy, you're in business. So, yeah, I would say that. But absolutely, I get the issue with papers, but don't feel you are compelled to get rid of, the birthday card that your 5-year-old made for you 30 years ago. No. Some things we just, even if we start to feel like hoarders about it, we have a right to keep that. We have a right to be sentimental about some things. Should we go through our lives attaching sentiment to every last thing we own? No, probably not. That's a bad idea. But some bits of sentiment are what makes life worth living. So I would say, yes, that is sort of my haiku version of how to deal with papers. Having said that, remember, I'm not so good about doing this myself, and I need to get better about that, because I know the rules. Respond to it, file it, throw it away. I know what they are. They're simple. But I haven't been keeping up with it. So that was a good wake-up call for me, because what happened is Barbara basically pointed out to me what my own failing is. And so thank you. Gosh, I rely on you folks for everything, don't I? I like to think I am a very, very independent person, and I don't need anybody or anything in my life. But my gosh, I've got this entire community that if I didn't have you to help me functioning, I don't know where I would be. All right. So before I sign off, I do want to say that, yes, tomorrow morning I will be in surgery. Thank you all for your good wishes, but please know this is going to be easy. I've done it before. It's not going to be a problem. I very much appreciate your good wishes, but this is something I want. I want to be able to get my free and complete mobility back. So the next time I see you on the weekend, I will have a new titanium knee, and life will be good. So, in the meanwhile, we are going to take a look at a slideshow on the way out, and have a terrific day.